So here we go. Welcome to Conversations in Wellness. This is your holistic life, where we talk about various aspects of your health and wellness. Health is a state of complete physical and mental and social well-being, not just merely the absence of disease or infirmity. I'm a firm believer in taking a holistic approach to wellness, and that's sort of what we talk about here on your holistic life. Because romantic relationships form a very important part of who we are and how we express ourselves, and the various things that we encounter in life influence our emotions, which influence our genes, which influence our expression of disease. We get all wrapped up in everything. So everything that we experience in life, impacts and influences our cravings and our choices and all that good stuff. So today we're here to talk about romantic relationships, and we are blessed with Dr. Karen Carpenter, who is a licensed counseling, board certified psychologist, and a sex and relationship therapist. That sounds so much fun.
It is.
And we're also blessed to have Marine pilot Granville Bennett with us. So we're here to talk about healthy relationships. What goes, guys? How's it going? Tell us a little bit, Karen, tell us a little bit about you, please.
Ooh.
Just give us a little intro.
Oh dear. Let's do the abbreviated form.
Yes,
so Jamaican by birth, Jamaican by birth, global citizen. Love meeting new people, love traveling, really enjoy learning about cultures that are not my own. I love being able to put my feet in someone else's shoes, walk a mile in their shoes. So I guess therapy is a good fit for me. I'm a Florida board certified clinical sexologist, as you said, which means a sex and relationship therapist. So I diagnose and treat sex and relationship disorders as a psychologist. That's my specialization. And it's been that for 19, almost 20 years now. Love my job, wouldn't change it. I think I have the best job in the world because I get to help people to have amazing sex. And that's so much fun.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Definitely a blessing unto the world.
Oh, for sure.
And Granville, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a Marine pilot, career-wise first, and this is where Karen and I have in common in terms of defining ourselves as global citizens. There's nothing more fulfilling than exploring and learning from travel. And that's where you come in contact with like so many other people, and you learn more about yourself even through other people's just perceptions of life and that kind of thing. But I've been a pilot for 20 years. Started sailing when I was 19, so got the opportunity to leave the Jamaican culture for a long time in that sense. Opened the eyes to a lot, but coming from a household where I had a really open family, just very open-minded, the kind of camping, get up in the morning and go anywhere on an adventure kind of deal. Grew up around the ocean, and I find people who have been on the ocean and travel tend to be very open-minded in that sense. But it's what more can I tell you about me? I'm a divorcee. I was married for almost 17 years and was in a long-term relationship. And I think as much as that taught me certain life lessons, after leaving that relationship, you literally start a new chapter of growth, because now you have to kind of, I don't want to say break down and analyze everything as to what was good, what was bad. And then when you have kids in the mix, now we have to, I don't know about you guys, but whether it's a friend or a family member, I don't like to see people fall in the same potholes that I fell in. So I tend to want to share. So
that sounds awesome. What are some of those potholes that because 17 years is a long time to be married to someone, and then there would have been a dating period before, right? Yeah. So you were with this person for a very long time. They were a significant part of your wrapped up life. And then at some point you thought, no, well, the two of you thought this is something that it's time to unravel. How do you get to that point of knowing that this is something that we need to walk away from versus something that we need to fix?
Um, all right. Well, as far as wanting to fix something versus something that can or can't be fixed or by choice, you have a lot of moving parts right there. So sometimes maybe it's almost like a divine destiny for your own soul growth. The soul is like a child, if you want to call it that. So sometimes what we think is pain and fire and brimstone and trauma is really just like a child wanting to learn something, so you learn it, and it's almost like it can be, I don't want to say preordained or use the word destiny, that you need to go through this and move on to something else. In my case, I'm almost convinced that's part of what it is, because I was coming from traditional stay with the same person forever, kind of deal. So you work through whatever traumas there are and that kind of thing, even though you don't have the tools to do it. So I chose to try and get the tools to do it, and that still did not manifest as a fix. I mean, we're friends now, don't get me wrong, but when you go through that trauma of separation, or one person needs to go somewhere else or needs to move in another direction, there comes a point where you do have to let go. And so I mean, whether it was mutual or one person deciding to leave and then you have to accept, or both deciding to leave and you have to accept, it gets a little, my story is a little detailed. So if you have the time, and we'll touch on different aspects of it,
Right. Okay, thanks for that. Karen, what do you think are some of the aspects of a healthy relationship? We spoke a little bit about sex before we jumped on to recording.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the way you framed the conversation just now with romantic relationships, I think we should kind of step back into that.
Okay.
So, idea for a romantic relationship is not flowers and chocolates. A romantic relationship is by necessity a relationship which contains sex. Whether it's intercourse, outer course, all the courses, onesomes, twosomes, threesomes, or foursomes and moresomes, it involves sex. And so romantic relationships are not for children, neither in the psychological sense of being a child or in the actual sense of being a child. Romantic relationships are for grown-ups and adults, and not all grown-ups are adults. So a healthy relationship is where two adults, not just people who are big in size, but people who psychologically enter into adult, can negotiate their spaces. What I like, what you like, what I want, what you want, what I won't want, what you won't want. My deal breakers, my deal makers, my idiosyncrasies. What do we leave on the table? What do we leave off? And being conscious enough to know whatever the nature of the relationship, situationship, relationship, long-term thing or fling, that we have signed on to what that other person has also signed on to. So for me, a healthy relationship is when two or more persons sign on to the same agreements about how they will treat each other, how they will enjoy each other.
That sounds really amazing. But if I meet you, say I meet Granville, and we're like, okay, this is cool. There's a little spark here.
Yeah.
How do you jump from that to what are we signing on for here? What are the, how do you navigate those steps? So if you are, say you are available to enter into a space of a relationship, so how do you get from there to there?
I know it's early morning, but
it's okay. It's 12 o'clock somewhere. It's midnight somewhere. Go ahead.
That's right.
But I think you gotta own your shit. You understand me? One of the challenges that we have is that we do not know how to say I want. We're really good at complaining when we're not getting what we want. But we're so bad at saying I want. And what you want from one person is not what you want from every person. So we have these ideas that, oh, this is what I want, this is a package, it's a list, and I'll just walk around the supermarket, the man's supermarket, the woman's supermarket, and pick up one of those. It doesn't work like that. I might want A, B, or C, but the person I'm partnering with, or persons I'm partnering with at that time, may bring different things to the table, and I'm thinking, that sounds like something I could want. I may be willing to change anything that's not a core belief to get a different experience. So we have this notion that we're so set in our ways. That's not true. We don't allow ourselves the flexibility of changing the list each time. You cannot get the same products in every supermarket. Yes?
Right,
We
right.
supermarkets, we know we go for things that really get under the skin and get, you know, like when you have like Marmite. I don't know if you know the British experience of Marmite. When you put Marmite on your tongue and you go, you can't move your tongue from your palate. Yeah? It sticks to the palate. We know where to go for those things, and then we know where to go for bread and butter.
Right.
We have to be honest.
Right. And you bring up an interesting point, which is different people may bring out different aspects of your personality.
True.
Yeah, with someone you could be very argumentative, and with someone very calm and accepting, and with someone very open and sharing. But how do you navigate all of this without like fucking things up, you know? So
Well, let me say something here, Karen, because you touched on that point of, you know, what we should be doing, right? But you have to remember we've also been kind of hardwired in society of how we're supposed to behave, and we don't have the tools to even have a relationship to begin with. It's not something that you're taught. It's kind of see, monkey do kind of deal, and so you can actually learn destructive behaviors and consider them normal, right? Then at the same time, there's that idea of what you say, honesty, even if it's constructive selfishness with yourself, you know, to be kind of, you know, on a positive growth path, or just be honest with the people that you want to be around. But a lot of people, to me, just don't accept the fact that, and we call it rejection, that sometimes we don't kind of dovetail with other personalities that we desire, whether it's a physical desire or, boy, that person is full of energy, I like being around them, but you may just not click. And so what do we do in a very simplistic sense? We lie. We lie to ourselves. You know, we don't reveal our wants, as you said. We don't reveal what we want from them per se. We just want to figure out a way to get into their space or share time with them. And generally, when like Natalie says, when we fuck shit up, it's because that dishonesty eventually catches up with us.
There you go. We get caught out in the lies that we tell to ourselves and to the other person just to be in their space. And one of the things we don't ever learn, Granville, we never learn that everyone has a right of refusal.
Right.
Everybody has a right to say, you're not my cup of tea. You're not my good buddy. You're not going to do it for me. Yeah?
Yeah, but you see Towne, Karen, Towne and ego is a hell of a thing. I learned that in Natalie telling about the courses I did, and including just being with righteous people like Karen. Yes. I was taught one thing, and I've used it so many times, that, you know, when that ego starts to rise up in you, and it comes at you like, you know, like a storm, like a dust storm.
And men and women equally, like it's not just ego is not a man thing, ego is a woman.
No, we're not talking sex is here. We're just saying
absolutely.
So I was taught, you know, if you identify it quickly as it's there and you put it in your top pocket, whether you want to do it figuratively or like mentally tell yourself, I'm going to put you away for now. Mm-hmm. Your vision clears, your whole perception clears, and you're able to say, okay, I can make a conscious decision that's not an ego-made decision, because probably 90% of the time we make decisions based on ego. You know, when it comes, like if Karen says, look, I like you, but I don't like you in that way. People freak the shit out, you know, like, oh my God, what the hell? And I'm a good person, why not me? And I've been in situations with that before, and you think you put your cards on the table and the other person says, yes, sure, I agree. And eventually then they go, you know, why not me? When you say, that's not what I want.
That's not what I see here.
And it goes downhill into this muck after that, you know?
I think that part of that too, Granville, is expectations. We invest so much expectation in having the particular outcome that we've forgotten that person has a will. We've forgotten that they know maybe today but not tomorrow, that there's so many responses that they can give us because we're so invested in closing this deal. We're going to get this person no matter what.
Yeah, we want the keys of ownership, you know?
Yeah.
And the beauty of, I think the beauty of a relationship is in the everyday. It's in the every moment. It's not in the destination. You know, this notion that I call it like this cruel joke that life plays on us, or our parents play on us, or society plays on us, where we go through this fabulous phase of dating people.
Mm-hmm.
And we enjoy each other's company so much. We go diving together, we go dancing together, we're on the water. Whatever it is that we love to do, we do that together, and we're courting, and we're being considerate and open-minded, and we're listening, and we're sharing. And then we go, okay, this is the life I want for the rest of my life. So let's get married. And the both of you say, yes, let's.
Mm-hmm.
And then you no longer go diving together. You no longer go on the water together. You no longer go out dancing together. Now you pay bills together, and you mind house together, and you rear children together, and you just completely domesticated what was a fantastic relationship. You just changed every rule of engagement. And then, so that's, to me, that's the cruel joke that life plays on so many of us.
So, you know, Natalie, I think what you're saying is absolutely true, but I think that's because we've got it so badly around.
Okay.
We were diving and paying bills, and going to the beach and paying bills, singing and paying bills. Hey, shit has to be paid for.
Mm-hmm.
We can't pretend that we can live in La La Land and not deal with the real world. Then coming into something called marriage, which is really a state sanctioning of your supposed love. You don't need marriage in order to get into a committed relationship. But let's say you come into that. It wouldn't seem as odd. Yes, children will be a new addition to that dynamic. But we're not realistic enough when we are actually courting. When we are courting, we do things that we would not normally do. And that's great for about 3 months.
Right.
Put yourself in a pretzel for the rest of the 2 years before you reach marriage. Goodness gracious. You've actually not presented the real person. I'm going to have to leave and go to work. I'm going to have to go earn some money. I'm not going to tell you that I can sit here and stare into your eyes all day long.
Or Karen, it even goes beyond that. It goes to the same past, I would say, of mask wearing, you know? Because if you can't see me when I'm tired, I'm bags under my eyes.
There you go.
Or, you know, not in a good mood, whatever it is, and accept that as part of the package, then what happens is that when the mask comes off after marriage, like Natalie says, then it's like, oh, you're not the person I married, you know, those famous statements kind of thing.
Right.
And those get thrown around. Yeah, those get thrown around quite a bit. But you know, the run up to the marriage is the key. Like I said, we just don't have the tools. That's why sometimes second time around supposedly is better. If you've grown, if you have matured, if you have admitted
done the work.
If you've done the work, yeah, you have to make that conscious choice to go, you know what, just like with your kind of life coaching and health coaching, it's you can't get the results without putting in the work. Precisely. You can't eat a whole chocolate cake every day and say, hey, I want to lose weight. You know, it just won't work. So it's to get the tools. The thing is that the tools aren't as readily available. Like if you don't know Karen Carpenter exists, you won't go find Karen Carpenter because it's not a mainstream thing, you know?
Right.
So
let's
health
say,
and
go ahead, sorry. No, go ahead, Granville, sorry.
No, I was saying, like, you know, health and wellness in the last 10 years has become almost mainstream. You know, you open Instagram or Facebook, everybody's telling you about keto diet, this cleansing, detox, everybody. So physically, you know, we're getting more access. Emotionally, sexually, no, because you still have the taboos of, hey, you can't talk about that, you know, how you must talk about that, you know, which man or woman for that matter. I know a lot of people who said this famous statement of, I got this, and that I got this. I don't mean it in a nice way. I mean it in a very condescending, You know,
Yeah.
it's I got this. So you can't tell me anything. So
Right.
how is that mindset going to learn anything? And they go on to try and start new relationships, and the cycle starts all over again.
Mhm.
So you have to get
Yep.
the tools.
Yep.
You know.
So let's talk a little bit about these tools, because I want folks that are investing the time to watch this to actually get some takeaways, you know, like, so what are some of these tools? Granville, you mentioned some courses that you did. I mean, we've spoken about expectations and being realistic and taking the mask off and saying what we want. And that's something that I believe firmly in, by the way. Say what you want, not what it is you don't want, because your energy tends to attract what you don't want, because your energy doesn't know negatives, right? So if you say, I don't want, that's exactly what you're going to get. So say it like you want it is a very important. But what are some of these tools? What if I'm in a relationship and, you know, I like this person, I think we have some of the foundational principles that line up that could make this a good thing, but something's not quite right. What do I do? Like, what are some of these tools that we can do, like work with to improve? I mean, I've heard of Gary Chapman's love languages, you know, so how does that play in? Like, what can we do to just improve the relationship that we got if we don't want to walk away?
Well, Karen, that's on you, man. That's like a two-way street. In other words, you might not want to walk away, but I'll tell you this: you can, you know, that old can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So you, that other person partnering with you has to be on the same open page of going to get the tools together. And sometimes that could be, it could be simple short courses like one I did with Karen. Or it could be something more personalized with with like two on two together on a counselor, and your role play. You could do a bunch of things. But I think, you know, if you don't have the, how can I say it? You know, sometimes we're just not qualified to fix certain things. So you need outside help.
Yeah.
Most of the time we try to.
We need.
Yeah, most of the time, you know, I mean, build your house yourself if you're not a trained contractor and architect. No, you may hire somebody, you know.
Therapists don't try to fix their own relationships, you know.
Right, exactly.
Therapists in order to get an objective view. So we don't try to do it ourselves, because there will be a point where you run out of tools.
Right.
Objectively. Yeah, Natalie, I want to say something that sounds quite simple, but it's harder for people to do than you imagine. First of all, well, a couple of simple things. First of all, get rid of this idea that opposites attract. Don't get that in the toilet. Get rid of that.
That is not the truth, man. Yeah, that is
rubbish I've ever heard for any sustainable relationship. If you're having a fling, and I always say to people, decide, is this a fling or a long-term thing? If you're having a fling, then you can just go on pheromones. I like you, you like me, zing, zing, zing. We get it on, we get it off, we get going. Done. But if you're trying to invest into a relationship, and not every fling can be a relationship, what gets your blood flowing erotically is not necessarily what makes for a long-term relationship. Because your kinks and your fetishes and your little places, I taught Natalie and you were in Granville, where the glamity meets satisfaction, that's a different thing. Yeah? And you have to have sexual chemistry. You must have passion. But first of all, get rid of the opposites attract. Do not ask somebody to do for you what you won't do for yourself. Do not ask somebody to do for you, and I mean sexually as well, what you won't do for yourself. If you will not pleasure yourself, if you will not please yourself, if you will not pamper yourself, if you will not cater to yourself, if you will not feed yourself, if you will not put nutrients into your body that make you better every day, don't ask somebody to come around and play Nurse Nancy or a doctor with you. Yep. That's foolishness. Nobody wants that job. Let me tell you that, plain. Then develop a checklist of the things you want. Know what your deal breakers are. Know what your deal makers are. But remember that people pay bills is not just look good, smell good, feel good. People pay bills and they raise children, and there are all kinds of other less glamorous things that you want this person to do in your life. And finally, You see, when you have that list and you're sure that you're being your authentic self, your true self, and not lying, become the person you want. Become the person you want. We attract what we are. So when we're in our worst moments, we're going to attract a worse partner than when we're in better moments. And you have to be honest with yourself and say, although I'm quarreling about A, B, or C about that person, I'm probably a little like that. That's my shadow.
Right.
You better become intimate with your shadow. Now, that's where you need help to do that work. Shadow work is super important.
Yeah.
But stop asking people to be the opposite of you because you think that opposites attract and it's complementary. It is not. What it is annoying after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That same laugh that it sounds so cute in the first 2 weeks, now it's annoying you. Every time you hear the laugh, it's
Yeah.
Look for the person that you are. Stop lying about who you are and look for your compatible other.
Yeah.
Do you ever, I mean, I'm sure a lot of folks they don't really know what they want, because what you want changes depending on what you have. So as you navigate life, you feel like something tangible is what you're after, and then you're like, wait a minute, I want a long-term relationship. I want a loving long-term partner. And then I get into it, and then you're like, oh, but there's a little piece of eye candy over there. Maybe I just want some hot sex. I'm not getting the hot sex, so
we have to be honest, and that's why I detest talking about marriage as a destination.
Right.
I think it's foolish to keep thinking that all of us can fit into this cookie cutter. It is 2021. We gotta wake up. Different relationship suits different ones of us at different times in our life. And if we are honest about the multiplicity of things that we like, then we will not just talk about any one fit. And we may engage in long-term relationships, define that, with multiple partners in multiple ways. It's up to us to be honest with ourselves that you're not going to be able to just do chocolate. You may need vanilla, pistachio, and I don't know, some buttered almond might be nice.
But in the society in which we exist, that can be risky to explore, because there are societal norms. I mean, in Jamaica, we don't date either, right? We tend to meet somebody and then lock onto that person, and then we're with that person until we realize we don't want to be with that person anymore. We don't have these sorts of
monogamy. So let me disagree with you, Natalie. In every society, regardless of the nature of the society, we make our small s society, our community. I think it's equally risky in any society. I don't think it's more risky in our island state than anywhere else. The risk is personal. Do you have the courage to be yourself, all your partners? Do you have the courage to say, this is who I am. I don't need you to accept that, but I need you to know. Because this is how I feel.
That, Karen, that is where control of your own ego comes in, because most people don't want to, like I say, not necessarily suffer rejection, but suffer loss. So let's say you have your multiple partners. Like you ever seen typical Jamaican man, he want to have 50 different women out there, but if one of those women decide to have someone else besides him, he loses his shit. I want to burn down the world. Oh my God, I want to kill everybody and myself and blah, blah, blah. So, I think a lot of it comes down to, you being honest again, without the ego and that ownership of, well, I want to have this, but the person might not necessarily sign on to your multiplicity. So if they don't want to sign on to that, but you still need to be honest with you, then you need to let them go.
Yeah, to the
left.
left.
Simple as that.
To the left.
If that's what you want. If that's what you want. But most people can't let go because it's like, man, that's too good. And
Which is why we end up.
The sex is great and the fun is good, so I don't want to let go. But it's going to crash and burn eventually.
I agree with you thoroughly, Granville. It is a fear of rejection. And I agree with what you're saying. And the thing is that we keep talking about sex is good, and it's one of the things that drives me nuts. The sex is good because sex is good.
Right.
Sex is good. So the fact that sex is good is a nothing for me. It doesn't compute.
Right.
Now, the sex is amazing. That's a different matter. And then you have to ask yourself, what in my erotic self is that evoking? And can I get it anywhere else? Because any great sex you had, you brought into the room with you. Nobody gave it to you.
Right.
You got to own your orgasm. You got to own your sexual self. You got to,
right.
like I said, don't expect somebody to bring you to the highest heights if you can't bring yourself to the highest heights.
Right.
You got to deal with that.
Yeah.
It's
And
hard stuff, but it's true.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, I mean, when it comes to sex, there's also as you know, the mental side of it and that connection. So if that person that you felt free with,
yes,
and that freedom that you feel tends to turn that erogenous switch in the on position, then if you're not careful, whether or not you're even compatible with the person on a regular emotional level, you can become kind of addicted. You know, it's like a good drug.
That's the I'm talking about.
Right. So beware of your drugs. Let's just say, let's put it that way, you know.
But you see, Granville, if we could be honest about our sexuality, the way we're honest about food, nutrition, exercise.
Yeah.
And we could say, we get into these situations where just like that marmite on the top of your tongue, it's stuck to your palate and you can't get enough of it.
Right.
If you recognize that that is your proclivity, it's your desire, not what the person is delivering, you'd realize you could get it somewhere else.
Right.
Take it with you into every relationship. And it's not everybody you know what that with.
Right, very true. Very true. But you know what's good when you're honest like that, I find maybe the energy level gets so high synaptically that the other person is either going to be turned on or turned off.
They may get scared.
May get scared because also you might also evoke something in them that they've never felt before.
Switch for them.
Mm-hmm. Right. So if they have been dormant,
getting hot.
Let's go back in time for a little bit. You know, for the people who lied about oral sex, for instance, you know, going down on a woman and this was a problem, blah blah blah. And so you think about it, you've had marriages in Jamaica or male-female relationships where because the society brainwashed a man to be some jackass that the oral sex is dirty or bad. And then that woman, after that relationship ends, interacts with a man and she's now able to experience oral sex, for instance, let's say, which has never had before, in an intense way. Well, probably never. Then all of a sudden, if you're not careful, that switches in the on position and you might not necessarily want any long-term projected, but she becomes almost addicted because it's something that's new and it's exciting and it's that sexual energy is powerful, right? And it goes so same for a man.
Value chart. On her value chart, it's become the unicorn.
Right.
When she finds a diner, she's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Never had this experience before. I'm teaching Natalie some words here in Granville.
Yeah, man. I hear you. You know, and that goes the same for a lot of men. You have a lot of men that are, they'll watch videos and they'll this and that, but a lot of them, because of their being so hardwired from birth till now, they're somewhat conservative.
Yeah.
In what they will do as far as sexual interaction goes. And
I'm constantly surprised, Granville, at how many men I've spoken to because of the nature of the work. I speak to thousands of people about sex, but I'm constantly surprised at how many men I've spoken to who neither kiss nor perform, and they tend to not doing either of those two things. So the man who doesn't kiss generally doesn't perform oral sex.
And what more intimacy can you get than from a kiss?
There you go. About that. It's one of the most sensuous. To me, a kiss is like the tracer in your bloodstream.
Yeah.
If you could put dye in somebody's bloodstream and trace it,
right,
it tells you so much about the individual. We've forgotten the sensuous. We've forgotten.
I mean,
nerve.
I'll tell any man or woman this, Karen. You know, well, you know this, but like at the height of your orgasm, just try being kissed or kissing.
Oh my God.
And see how that compares to not kissing.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is,
you know,
if you have someone who is a connoisseur in that area, you don't need to take your clothes off in order to have an orgasm. You can orgasm through kissing. You can literally bring yourself to an orgasm just through kissing, because there's so many ways to kiss. It's like a palette. It's a whole palette of experiences.
Right.
It will blow your mind if you have the right. Just one kiss.
There you go.
So this is amazing, and we're focusing a lot on the physicality of the relationship, which is so important. I think we were joking in the beginning, but I think in order to have a good, healthy, long-term relationship, you have to have great sex. Like, the two cannot be mutually exclusive. So we have to know what we want.
Here, sex doesn't mean intercourse; it means all the courses.
Right.
All. You can have an amazing sex life that's non-penetrative or not as focused on the penetrative aspects.
If that's what you want.
If that's your flavor.
Right.
That's the patadama.
Right. So being honest with what you want, being honest with what you need, tempering your expectations, but having those conversations, taking your mask off, all of that. But you can have great sex and not a great relationship.
Well, it would be a great sexual relationship. The question again, is this your long-term thing or your fling? Or maybe your long-term sexual equal, but not the person who goes into other compartments of your life. And if both of you are agreed on that, then that can be a sensuous exploration.
Let's navigate that for a little bit, Karen. Tell me a little bit about that, because we tend to fall in love. Well, sex triggers.
Man, I saw that coming. I was just like, whoa.
Sex triggers a whole bunch of things that we tend to misconstrue as love, you know?
Okay, so falling in love is a chemical response. And if we recognize that falling in love is about, I like the way I feel when I'm with you, it's not love. Right. So I can fall, and I hate the term fall. I can stand in love repeatedly. Because I can chemically respond to someone in ways that make me feel like, oh my God, let's get it on. Thinking of songs this morning. You know, I can just totally get that. And that's going to happen somewhere back here in my cortex. And it's going to be my primordial cortex that's going to drive me towards that. So my eyes are taking in all of this information. And it's got nothing to do with a stereotypical look. But it might be just what those pheromones are doing when we're both within a 3-foot range of each other. So my primordial brain says, yeah, limbic system likes this. Let's get it on. And you could have an amazing inspiration. No, I'm going to do something I've never done before. Oh God. So I like me a technician. And I've been fortunate to have amazing men in my life. I don't know if I'm predisposed to think they're amazing before we get into anything romantic, or it is that I've just had amazing experiences, or I'm a perennial optimist. You know, I don't know. But I've had the experience of being with a technician where it was purely sensual, sexual. There is a degree of intimacy, because there is knowledge of each other, but there's a complete openness to explore the most frightening depths of your sexuality, to face yourself sexually wherever you encounter yourself, and you feel safe because that person is meeting you along the way. One of you has to be the catcher. Both of you can be deep diving. One of you got to buddy up and say, okay, your turn to deep dive. What do you want today? What do you want from this experience? Whether it's intuitively, not speaking, which I love much more than the speaking, and arriving there together and going, oh, so this is where we're going. That's a lot more interesting than, okay, that's some BDSM. When you want to do some BDSM and you want control, then you do the, let's thrash this out. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the safe word. But it's an amazing experience to afford yourself to just explore your sexuality with another human being or other human beings who are safe, who have got you and won't allow you to trip out, let's say. It's transcendental. Yeah, you don't need drugs for that. In fact, the less drugs, the better.
That is the drug.
Drugs are another experience because that's purely your brain creating the endorphins, dopamine, etc., and putting you on a trip where you see inside yourself. It's fantastic. So I would recommend it for every human being. And I don't know why we're not having more of that transcendental sex generally, so we stop giving sex a bad name. There is no chocolate that can do that for you.
That's, you said a mouthful.
I know.
You know, yeah. But I think you hit everything on the head with that. That covers so much. You know, the trick, Natalie, though, I think is, you know, like Karen said, having someone who will be on the same page with you or have your back. So even if you start slipping emotionally, I think, because some people will sign on. Yeah, I mean, I've been through that, you know, where, yeah, man, I'm cool with it, where we're going with this, and, you know, with no expectations or whatever it is, or just exploration, but then emotions kick in and that goes on. It's like autopilot for them. And so they go wherever it takes them. The problem is that that's not what you agreed on or signed off. But not to sound clinical with it, Natalie, you understand? But you need to make sure that somebody is there to say, hey, all right, maybe we need to pause or stop, or let's not go deep dive anymore because you may start to lose that.
Let's go to the shower.
Yeah, let's pause.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it's important when that person is able to, and I'm saying this doesn't happen in every long-term relationship. It can be a short-term relationship. It can be a period of time that you explore yourself sexually for because you feel safe with this person. That person has to be able to, and you have to be able to as well, to say this particular activity on the menu, because in sex therapy we talk about a sex menu. This item on the menu, I'm not comfortable doing it with you because this is the nature of our relationship. I think it's a deep dive for me, even if it's shallow waters for you. So can we back it up a bit and do something else?
Right.
You have to not take it personally. You have to respect the person's boundaries. And that's a whole other level of openness, which I think very few people get to experience. And I would love for more people to experience that. But it starts being honest that that's all you want from this situation.
Yeah.
So where does the love come in?
¿Qué? ¿Qué se acaba? ¿Qué? Mami.
Je ne parle pas.
¿Qué me estás diciendo ahora? Where does it not love? Sex has nothing to do with love. Sex doesn't need love to be good. Sex is good by itself.
Right, but a long-term relationship needs love.
Love needs sex.
Love needs sex.
Love.
We're talking about need love.
Sexual exploration, sexual self-knowledge, sexual growth. Love is a whole other ball game. And that's one of the things that women are taught, which is a trap. We're taught that if we have sex with someone, we must love them.
Right.
I can love your personhood as a humanist. I can love that you're a human being and respect you and treasure you. I don't have to love you for my long-term partner. It doesn't lack the respect that I would have with a long-term partner because I'm going to respect myself and you. But that does not mean I love you. Not for a romantic long-term engagement. I don't know that you can get both of those in the same place, Natalie. That's what I'm saying.
Whoa. That's a truth bomb. Can you say that again?
I don't know that you can get.
I don't know that you can get what two things in the same place.
I don't know that you can get the kind of exploration that I'm talking about along with a long-term relationship in the same place.
No, you just burst my bubble.
Well, you see, this is a fantasy that we've been taught as well, because women are taught to fantasize only about one thing. Women are not allowed to have sex fantasies. You can have sex fantasies and they can all be valid. And my long-term partnership, where I'm going to sit down and read a book and discuss a good book and whatever, and pay the JPS bills, is certainly not going to be my erotic equal.
That could be a unicorn, though. I mean, you could find that. I'm not, because there are people who have that naturally, that I've seen. But in terms of your relationships, like your loving long-term relationships, I've probably rarely ever seen that, where the intensity of
the intensity I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I think the intensity has to be modulated when you get into that long-term thing. It doesn't mean, for instance, with people who have the passion, the intimacy of mind, and the commitment, they've found in research that they were interviewing people who had been together for 15 years. And although they could admit that this may not have been the person they had the most explosive sex with, that is the person that they would want to continue to have sex with for another 15 years. So I'm talking about a blow your mind experience without drugs. And then I'm talking about an experience that your brain can tolerate over long periods, which should still be high in passion. Your brain cannot blow its mind every single day for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you'd burn out. You would literally burn out. Yeah.
You would explode.
Yeah.
So we have to appreciate it for what it's worth, for that real gourmet experience. It's a gourmet experience. It's for connoisseurs. It's for technicians. It's for people who want a completely other tantric experience of sexuality.
But Karen, that is like teaching somebody to handle a loaded firearm.
Yes.
Because I could give you a 22 to shoot, but then if I give you a rocket launcher, you probably blow up your neighbors,
Yes.
So
just by demonstrating it.
Right. So in other words, I think, again, you need to have the tools to know what you're getting into, because if you get into something where you go, well, okay, so this means that if this is mind blowing and it's that means my state of being in love is going to even be as intense. And then we confuse the two. And then when the long-term relationship stuff doesn't happen.
You need somebody to have it.
Yeah.
You have to have ground rules. You got to have a net. The same thing with BDSM. You got to have some safe space. Because yes, it's a rock. That's a different experience.
Right.
So I don't think that's tolerable, although great sex is tolerable over the long term. I do believe in great sex over the long term. But what I was speaking of before was mind-blowing sex, that transcendental experience. I don't know if you've ever heard somebody say their eyes flip back in their head. Okay, that experience.
Right.
That requires two technicians. You have to both be technicians, willing to be technicians, willing to explore, because you have the experimental space.
Right.
This has been incredible. This has been mind-blowing for me. And the takeaways that I'm stepping away with, I think the most profound takeaway that I'm stepping away from this conversation with, and to kind of bring it all together, is there is no formula. There is no one magical formula. That we have to be honest with ourselves and our partners.
That's the magic. It's magic. That's the magic formula.
Yeah.
Be honest with yourself. Be honest about who you are sexually, relationally, and what you want when it comes to paying the bills. Be honest about yourself. That's the magic. It sounds so simple. We don't want to do it.
And that's where we have to take the time outside of a relationship. We have to take the time when we're not in a relationship to really explore who we are and what we want, so that we have that, because two broken people, two halves cannot come into a relationship. It has to be.
The thing is, what I would say differently, Natalie, is that I would say, take the opportunity of every relationship to learn about yourself. Relationships are not about the other person. The relationships you get into, stop pointing the finger at the other person. Get out your journal, get out your little notebook and learn about yourself. I did A, B, or C. It felt good. I did A, B, or C. I felt ashamed. I'm thinking of doing A, B, or C. It's a risk. Relationships are about us. Every relationship gives you an opportunity to learn about yourself, not about the other person. It's not about them. It's an inside job.
But you did say something a while ago, Natalie, which can be important, especially in the context of learning, that if you are in a relationship and it's not quite what you want it to be, then care has to be taken as to how you decide to explore, or you may need to step away for a while, very honestly, and let them know you need to figure stuff out. Now, if a person really wants to be with you in the long term or whatever, then there is no ownership. There is no, well, if you leave, then it's done and I can't be with you again and you hurt me, and because then that becomes just selfish. But a lot of times we're walking on eggshells, so we don't want to share that with that person because we know the reaction is not going to be pleasant. So we kind of just, float along until we reach the rapids, and then we both fall off the raft, So, you understand? So sometimes it might make sense to get off in the calm waters. If there is something that you need to do. I mean, and I'm learning myself, because I've been a manipulator, because, without even realizing that I was being a manipulator, because I have that skill, but it's that autopilot. I want this, I'm going to make this happen. Which might not necessarily have been in the best interest of the other person. And then you lie to yourself and you say, well, hey, no, I didn't do that. No, but you did, So you've to learn to make sure that they're very clear. It's clear with what you want. And like Karen said, it's about you, So.
Well, I hope the folks that are listening to this conversation go through all of the various internal questioning and the thought processes that are going through my mind, because this has been like a massive therapy session for me. I've personally gotten a lot of value out of this, so I'm really hoping that folks that are listening to this go through that same internal dialogue and really take away some explorative points where they're going to start learning more about themselves, because as we learn more about ourselves, we take a better us into our future experiences and our current experiences,
Right.
And if anyone absolutely wants to dive a little deeper into this, Karen, this is what you do, right? So people can reach out to you.
Absolutely.
The session.
Be sure that you do want to experience change, though, because therapy changes you. So be sure that you're ready for change, Don't bashfully, you have to do it because you want a result. Do it because you want change.
It's kind of like the Matrix, if you want to take the blue pill or the red pill, right? Do you want to stay in your ignorant bliss?
You just said it, the Matrix.
Or do you want to take the veil off?
Yes.
And taking that veil off makes you extremely vulnerable, and all sorts of things can happen. But in that vulnerability, beauty can unfold, right?
Oh yeah.
Let me tell you.
You get, very true. I mean, Karen, the very first time I did my very first vision board ever was with the people at SOHA in Atlanta, School of Humanity and Awareness.
Right.
And I did role playing with somebody who played my ex-wife. And I mean, it was scary. I mean, these are all neuropsychologists, and they do a full mock-up of study of everybody prior to you doing this 4-day retreat course. And I can tell you, man, I mean, I shed some tears having a conversation with somebody who is a complete stranger, but who was responding as the type of conversation I would have when things were traumatic with my ex-wife.
Because it brought me back into the moment. So
but you need to go back sometimes in order to come forward, because if you have trauma from whether it's within your relationship or back to your individual childhood, which a lot of us have childhood traumas, I mean, and I know a lot. I've had female friends who basically all their partners and their failed relationships were projections of their own fathers, and their fathers weren't necessarily the best people, if you get what I'm saying. So they would choose these people. You know, why are you choosing that person? And when after their therapy sessions, what would come out is it's like a projection of their father. And think of that. How awkward it would be and twisted to have a relationship with your own father.
But we all
think, you know. Say again, Karen.
I said, but yet we all do it because that's the first place that we learn love.
Right.
We have, and until we build our own model, our own shape from it, we take one of the pills.
That's right. Mom or dad.
I love the Matrix. I love that Matrix analogy.
Yeah.
The decision to take one of those pills into a different space.
I mean, I would love, like, if Karen does workshops, I highly recommend people just go, you know. So when you're ready to host another one, count me in, you know.
Let me know, I'm there.
Right. But doing that where you really kind of see a template of yourself, or like a mock-up of yourself. No, you have to be honest, because you have some people who, regardless of anything, you tell them to make a template, the template is going to be a lie anyhow, because they're not going to be comfortable.
They've got the mask on.
Yeah, the mask will end up on a template, you know. So life is going to be perfect, and this is what they want, and picket fence and 2 kids, and when there might be some and there might be some closet dominatrix or something like that, you know, instead of putting that, hey, that's what I am, you know, but they don't claim that because it's not accepted in their world or whatever, right?
This conversation has been awesome.
What?
It's always so amazing talking with you.
No, man, well, we know we're like kindred spirit, right? So yeah, I have an off-the-wall question, but this is for Natalie.
Yeah.
So, you know, often when it comes to health and wellness, this is not my field of expertise, but they talk about, and this is for you too, Karen, emotional health, and as it attributes to your liver function in your body. Have you guys ever dabbled in anything connection with that?
Well,
absolutely. I mean, actually, go ahead, Karen. Let me
no,
hear you.
I don't, because it's more homeopathic.
Right.
And that's why I was pointing to you, Natalie. I agree with that. Granville, that's a question for Natalie.
Yeah, they're everything to do with the way that we process the world. I mean, your liver processes everything from the air that you breathe to the food that you consume, and then so your internal state has a lot to do with what you're eating, what you're thinking, what you're breathing, because your hormones, whatever is going on inside your body is going to contribute to the way that you make your hormones, and your hormones are going to contribute to the way you think. So it's a two-way communication thing. So liver is one part, yes, but your gut health is another part. I mean, your neurotransmitters, serotonin and dopamine, are made in your gut. So if liver is not healthy, gut is not healthy. If gut is not healthy, brain is not healthy. If brain is not healthy, gut is not healthy. I mean, you probably just can be a miserable rasta, you know. So you can eat a lot of sugar and get stressed out. Sugar stresses you, right? And if because you're on the roller coaster, and then you've got unhappy gut bugs, you know, inside your intestines. So it's all connected. So that's why back in the dark ages, they would refer to you as livery. You know, so a lot of the humors were a lot of your personality was related to organs. So if you were a certain way, you were bilious. If you were a certain way, you were livery.
Interesting. Emotion. Yeah, the liver was considered the seat of emotion, when actually processing plant for all of the things going through the body. Yeah. So it is our purifier, and it's the only organ that regenerates. Right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Interesting. But you got to give it a chance. You got to give it a break. You know, because it's like cleaning the AC filter, but burning a fire outside where the AC, you know, so you're constantly putting crap in. It can't keep up. So you have to stop the stuff from coming in and allow it time to regenerate. And then there are herbs like milk thistle that can help the liver regenerate. But if you're a nonstop drinker and a nonstop junk food eater and a nonstop smoker, you just if the insides aren't good, no.
Body
Yeah,
gonna
I understand.
ache.
Yeah.
Body's gonna ache. This has been an amazing conversation. I think we need a part 2. But Karen, I'm with
Anytime.
Granville. Workshop.
Workshop.
Yeah, man. Seriously. Just set it up and
No time. I'd love to be talking to people though who want to do that deep dive. I'd love to be talking to people who want to move from elementary to university level sexuality.
I'm interested in this shadow work
Why do you
that
think
you
I'm
mentioned.
Why do you think I'm saying it?
mm-hmm.
Karen.
It's been great, guys.
Karen, where do people find you? How do people get in touch with you?
Actually, I'm not hard to find. You can look on that old thing called Facebook that we're on. It's Dr. Karen Carpenter or Love and Sex with Dr. Karen Carpenter. Love and Sex is my brand. On Instagram, it's the same thing, Love and Sex, or Dr. Karen Carpenter. Twitter, the same. I'm on all social media. Just type in Karen Carpenter, you'll find me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Granville, the conversation, you really brought a level of elevation and flavor and depth to this conversation. So I know this is not your field of work.
No.
But I do appreciate your time and your insights.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
so we'll all be in touch though, man.
Yes.
Sounds great. All right, folks. See ya.
All right. Bye.